Hey everybody, I am back with another movie spoiler review, and it's just one of the classics upon classics. The 1994's Disney's The Lion King, the good one. Never gonna even entertain the live action version, and I dread the Mufasa prequel that's supposed to be coming out. They should have scrapped that. The live action remakes are just, for the large part, terrible. There's been some few good ones here and there, but by and large, they're not successful. Uh, but continuing on with the Father's Day movie month review, uh, obviously this one is deeply centered around like a good father story. And before we continue, please follow me in the links in the description below if you like the content. And if you want to further support the channel, please follow me on my YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, etc. Smash that like button down so you won't miss another video. And yeah, let's get right into it. Now, I have to wrote some notes down because this is a lot I wanted to talk about this. First and foremost, uh, this was directed by Roger Ellers and Rob Minkoff, who just coming off the success for Oliver and Company, which is like an amazing movie that I watched as a little kid that I really want to talk about at some point down the line. But also The Little Mermaid, the good one, Beauty and the Beast, the good one, and Aladdin, the good one. So now they bring in The Lion King, which is like for the longest have been the most critically acclaimed, breaking records animated film for a long time. It had like a budget of 45 million, which is a reasonable budget, mind you. And it raked in at the box office nearly $1 billion, 968.4 million to be exact. That's how big it was. And of course, it had a couple of sequels, The Lion King 2 and Lion King 1.5. But then they also had like The Lion's Guard, which was like a short TV show, never seen. And of course, The Lion King's Timon and Pumbaa TV show that lasted 4 seasons, which I did see as a little kid and remember enjoying it. Uh, so this stars, excuse me, excuse me, Matthew Broderick, the adult Simba, and the adult singing voice of Simba, Joseph Williams, Jonathan Taylor Thomas as a young Simba, and Jason Weaver as the young Simba singing voice. Jeremy Irons as Scar, one of the best Disney villains of all time. James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Moria Kelly as Nala, the adult Nala. Sally Dworsky as the singing voice of adult Nala. Nikita Kalame as voices young Nala, while Laura Williams provided the young Nala singing voice. Nathan Lane as Timon, the meerkat. Ernie Sabella as Pumbaa the warhog. Robert Gilliam as Rafiki, the mandrill monkey. Rowan Atkinson as Zazu, the hornbill bird. Madaj Sinclair as Queen Sarabi. Whoopi Goldberg, Cheech Martin, and Jim Cummings as the three hyenas. So, yeah. The movie begins in like a very like in your I will say in your face, but in your ear song, like Ma Senenya. Of course, that's I'm not gonna do the whole entire thing because it's gonna be embarrassing. But it's the, it's Swahili. It actually does have like a meaning to it. It was for the longest time we all thought it was just sheer gibberish, but it actually got like actual. It's Swahili for actual dialogue. I mean, like singing. Uh, Actually, there's a lot of words here that actually come from Swahili that actually mean something. Like Hakuna Matata means no worries. We got this from, and this marks for a great film because, well, movies this day and age seem like they're trying to force. It seems very forced with like being inclusion and everything like that, instead of allowing it organically. This movie is a prime example of how you can, drive home organically about other cultures like African Swahili, because we all have uttered the words Hakuna Matata. We learn an African language similar to how Lilo and Stitch we learn about like Ohana. That's how you do it. That's how you get people to learn in a subtle way instead of trying to hammer it in your face. This is surgical precision. Unlike this day and age where you got like you're trying to overdoing it a bit. But all the animals in Pride Rock come, and I didn't even know this. This is set, if you want to know what part of Africa this is supposed to be in, this is Tanzania. Where the Pride Lands are, it will be set in Tanzania. What time period of Tanzania is, up for debate, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, where's the African tribes anywhere around here? And of course, they didn't want to bog down with human characters. But I remember from Timon and Pumbaa TV show, they run into people in Pride Rock because it's like in the middle of like the plains and everything like that. But it's like, okay, at no point come across no tribes hunting zebra or water buffalo or whatever. And the prime lesson you learn from this is about the circle of life, and they don't shy away from death, is because it got one of the most iconic deaths in Disney animation, or just in top 10 movie deaths in general in this film. So they don't shy away from things that could like, because they don't treat kids like they're stupid. You don't have to show them the gore, but acknowledge the fact that, yeah, there's death, there's consequences. So it's like, it's not going to be too far of a stretch to actually see a couple of wildebeest getting hunted by some African tribes. You don't have to show the African tribes like faces, but clearly acknowledge the fact that there will be tribes, at least a little bit. That's just my take. I don't know. It's a nitpick, but I'm just saying. Like, as a kid, I always wondered, like, where are the people, like the tribes? It's like, shouldn't they be hunting at least half of these animals? Anyway, so they all come gathered, which you think about is kind of messed up, but they come gathered to pay tribute and honor the King Mufasa's newborn son Simba. And it's like, why would we, come by to go worship because it's a monarchy, obviously, but it's like you singing your praises to a kid who will in several years will grow up to hunt you down and eat you. It's kind of like a messed up thing. And it's like, why would you like? It's like praising the president's son that will one day choose a group of people to hunt down and kill. It'd be kind of weird and messed up to do that. It's saying. Um, but then after this glorious ceremony, we are introduced to Scar, who didn't show up for the festivities and just brooding. And he tried to eat Zazu, but Mufasa shows up, and it's like, you didn't show up for the, celebrate the birth of your nephew. What's going on? And it's like, I don't want to sit in worse for that. I should have been king in the first place, but now I'm never going to be because this kid's going to take that spot from me. So like, I got no reason to celebrate anything. And it's so many iconic lines from this film, and one of them that always stuck with me, and it's so underrated. And I gotta mention here, it's just because you got icons like Jeremy Irons and James Earl Jones delivering these lines and such, and because they're thespians essentially, and you just see that that skill just by the sheer voice. I'm in awe as a voice actor. I'm just in awe of my superiors here. The fact that their skill level is on a whole nother, it's God tier. It's just that, don't turn your back on me, Scar. Oh no, Mufasa. Maybe you shouldn't turn your back on me. It's like, oh God, like this motherfucker just threatened me. It's like, is that a challenge? And I love the sound bites. You actually hear like the roars and everything like that. It's like, yeah, instead of hiring people like, crap, what's that guy that, he's a Clayface in the Harley Quinn show. Crap, what's his name? It starts with an A. I keep want to say Andy Serkis. That's not it. uh, Alan Tudyk. That was it. And it started with an A. Instead of, because Alan Tudyk is in certain roles that is voicing animals. Unless the animals talk, you could actually use sound bites of actual animals like a rooster or something like that instead of having to pay a person. That is my thing. Unless it's a creature that actually doesn't have a well-known voice that we recognize, like, because we know how a rooster sounds, we know how an elephant sounds. Something like a creature from the Black Lagoon, I'm like, okay, you can make some goofy voice for that, sure, because you don't have like actual voice for something like that. But here I appreciate the fact that, yeah, get an actual soundbite of a lion roaring, because we know what that sounds like. It's like a threatening vocal patterns. Because I personally think that's kind of a waste. And no shade on Alan Tudyk, get your money. But I'm just saying, in general, I think it's kind of a waste. You know what a rooster sounds like. You can't get an engineer to pull up a soundbite of a rooster. Moana, I'm speaking of, Alan Tudyk is going to be this rooster thing. And it's like, why? Why waste extra money to give to an actor where you can just get a soundbite? Anyway, so Scar is, cunning. He knows in a head-to-head fight, he is no match for Mufasa, who's like, definitely bigger and stronger and well experienced fighter than he is. So he's definitely using his brains to circumvent that. So he has a master plan. Oh, and by the way, Dynamite Comics have been putting out in the past year some Disney villain stories, and so far have been very good. And the first one they brought out was Scar, and it's pretty much like a prelude to what how he got the idea of how to get rid of Mufasa and Simba. So it's very it's very intriguing. They did one for Maleficent, and currently right now is there's Cruella Deville. They also did one for Hades from Hercules. So far they've been very good, very entertaining. I might do one. I might do because I haven't done a Dynamite comic review up on the channel. I might do one, and I want to go through the Scar one because that was very fun. Anyway, matter of fact, I'm gonna put it on the list because that is actually pretty doggone fun. It was a short little mini thing. It's not like something. It's a 10-issue whatchamajig, because that'll be fun. Anyway, so time passes and Simba grows into a cub, where you can actually move around on his own and everything like that. So he wakes up his father, and honestly, like their relationship is just impressive. One of the best father and son relationships in a movie period, in my opinion, that we ever seen. Where he gets his father up because it's very typical. It seems like like a little kid trying to wake up their parent because they take them out. It's like they promise you take us out to the music part or the movie or whatever, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, I'm up. And Mufasa takes him out on the Pride Lands to teach him about what he does in terms of being the king, and trying to prepare him to eventually lead the kingdom himself. About like he warns them about the shadowy place that's beyond their borders. You should never go there, Simba. And then he teaches him about the circle of life. Like, because I like the fact that Simba points out, like, don't we eat the antelope? Acknowledge the fact that they eat these suckers. It's like they're just, these zebras are cool. The fact they bowing down to a particular predator that's gonna eat them one day, at least one of them one day. It's like you birthing a kid and like teaching him how to walk and everything like that, but then one day your king's kid will probably one day hunt down your kid at some point, and they just accept that. I know it's a dog eat dog world kind of situation, and animals, that's their reality. They don't know anything beyond that. That's just like, it's a hard knock life kind of situation. But dang, this is kind of like just bluntly, you just said it. It's like, as a kid, it's like, wow, you're just like not glossing over that. You're not glossing on the fact that don't we eat the animal? It's like, yeah, but there's more to it than that. It's like, one day we'll die, our bodies become the grass, and then the antelope eat the grass. And that's where a part of the great circle of life, which is like the deep lesson from this movie, teaching young kids about like the natural cycle of life and death. Is like, is broken down in a very like kid format so they can understand, but they don't. Uh, there's like they walk the fine line of making it sure it's not too kiddie, but not too graphic either. There's like, yeah, one day we'll go away. You will have kids. They will grow up, and they will eventually die. And it's like, it's like life and death is like a natural process, kind of thing. Uh, but that's not the only lesson we learned from this. We'll get to that soon. But then, uh, and then he teaches his son about pouncing, and it's just like, yeah, if you ever watch Animal Planet, you see like how lions hunt. They incorporated that pretty well in this film. It's like they get so low that normal animals like Zazu just turns around and all of a sudden they're not there anymore, and then someone just you know jumps into frame and tackles him, and it's like, and you see the Mufasa is laughing as like a proud dad. It's like it's basically akin to teaching your kid how to play basketball or or whatever, and you see him like dunk for the first time. Like that's very good. It's like it's being a proud dad, and it's like it reminds me how like me and my brothers grew up, and because my father always go out playing softball with his friends at these tournaments and everything like that. And while they're practicing, we play along with them, and we play catch and everything like that. And it's just like a fun thing. He's like, proud of the fact that like hey, like not hit the ball and everything like that. It's just like a fun camaraderie, especially because it's like all boys, and it's like this male camaraderie, and it's just kind of like it's one of my favorite memories, honestly, as a kid. It's just like going out and just enjoying the park and everything like that. So if you ever watch this, you recall like certain things you done with your father or father figure, and if you have a kid yourself, you could recall playing or doing something with your kid, and they pull off a thing that you taught them, and you get this sense of pride to that. It's like, I taught my kid that. It is kind of like that. There's air of pride lands that's to it. But then Mufasa has to run off because there's word of hyenas in the Pride Land, so he has to handle business because he's a king, he's a leader, and as a leader, he has responsibilities that he didn't get. He only teach like a little bit of it to Simba, but just like any young kid, he got this kind of big head about himself. Like, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna rule it all, and it's kind of like that, this kind of arrogance, young arrogance of a child. Think they know everything, but they do not. I know some people saying like, oh, like sometimes like, yeah, sometimes young kids can say something that's very wise, beyond their years, kind of thing. But don't negate the fact that they still kids, and every one nugget of wisdom that come out of the mouth, in between all that is just idiocy. I want to say idiocy, but just kind of not childish nonsense. That you can't always placate, or you gotta mitigate, kind of thing. I'm not parent. You guys are parents, but I'm just from an observer. It's just that, okay, there are some things you just can't let your kids just get away with, or say whatever, or do whatever, kind of thing. Thinking they know better than you, but they do not. Uh, uh, so Simba ends up going to visit his uncle. Uh, and then Scar sees into this young kid's head about like about the elephant graveyard, and he was like, "Oh, only the bravest lions go there." And it's like, I'm brave, and it's kind of like, you know, poking at the kids, brashness and ego, and so he ends up going to his friend Nala to try to, because that's Simba's best friend, goes to try to get her to, hey, we should go by the watering hole just to sneak off, because like young kids, they want to get into stuff, you know, they ain't supposed to. Typical. And clearly, when you listen to the writing, and you can tell that the people behind this film, a lot of them had kids. So it's just seeing these kids get into mischief is like typical kid thing. And it's not like dumb and out of nowhere kind of stuff. It seems like a natural point A to point B kind of thing, with Scar feeding the kid's ego, and young Simba's brassness and eagerness to lead, because he sees leading as like this, like, oh, you gotta be big and strong and brave all the time, and you fear no fear, and like, I get to do what I want kind of attitude. It's kind of like with Thor in the first Thor film with his father. It's like he's just like it's like, it's just like that brassness and arrogance of youth without the wisdom of age. So the mom actually gets Zazu to look after them while they're going by the watering hole, thinking it's gonna be an innocent little trip. And then you get the iconic, I just can't wait to be king. And then you get this colorful musical performance and everything like that. Very iconic. And they ditch Zazu while they make their way to Elephant Graveyard, and they bump into the three hyenas. What are their names? Senzi, Banzai, and Ed. And honestly, these three actors, I mean, God, it's so freaking funny. And they, was about to, after Zazu finds them, they get confronted by these hyenas, and they just kind of riffing and making stupid puns. And to this day, I still remember it because it's so freaking dumb while they messing around, and it's like, you're just lying around. And it's like, no, I got one. Make mine a Cub sandwich. It's like, oh my God, are you making stupid food puns right now? And then it's like Ed is the best. And it's like Ed, and he's freaking out, and he's so incoherent, and it's like you can just hear Whoopi Goldberg's voice and everything. It's like what, Ed? It's like, what? It's like, do we order this dinner to go? No, why? Because there it goes. So that little part still cracks me up to this day. Just like, this is so idiot. Too much idiocy going on when they just cracking stupid puns while Ed is the only one paying attention, even though he's kind of a goofball. So they chase him down until they catch him with Zazu, but they push him into this kind of boiler, thing, crevice. He flies off, but he manages to get Mufasa, who shows up in the nick of time to save Simba and Nala, and he chases away the hyenas. So he walks the three, Zazu and the cubs back into the Pride Lands. He tells Zazu and to take Nala home, and it's like that voice. It's like hearing the way James Earl Jones say it. You just get this kind of spider sense tingling, that weird tingling behind the back. The way he deliver it, like a authoritative dad. It's like, I gotta teach my son a lesson. And it's the way that Simba cowers into the grass. It's like, God, we all know that feeling. It's like when your dad is like, just like it's like the fact that you disappoint your dad and he just like you ticked him off because you did something stupid, and it's like God, you feels like James Earl Jones about to hit you with a belt or something like that. It's like you just shoveling your face right into the dirt. Um, and I love the symmetry, and I picked up on it as a little kid, where as Simba's approaching him and he steps his paw into the paw print of his father. And it's kind of foreshadowing like he's always gonna be following his dad, and he's like at least trying to fill the shoes of his dad, and he's like he's a little paw. He's barely can get off a roar because it's kind of like you haven't hit puberty yet, so your little roar sounds like a whine. So it's kind of like he there's so much high expectations of him, and he's just sinking in that I can't fill the shoes of this guy because Mufasa, my father, is such a great man, a great lion. And it's like, how can I get to here to there kind of situation? And it's like, I can't measure up to something like that. And that's partly going to be his journey. So Mufasa lays it out like, you deliberately disobey me, and what's worse, you put Nala in danger. And you hear Simba is saying like, I just want to be brave like you, and Mufasa had to explain to him like, being brave doesn't mean you go looking for trouble. And it's like a good father son lesson. And it's like, because lots of young boys need their fathers to like keep them on like a right path. Otherwise they veer off to do God knows what ignorant things as they get older. You need that kind of like strong hand, not like not terms of hitting or anything like that, but just like the fathers are that first line of defense to keep the kid on like a good path. And the formative years are the like most critical ones, so that way they set the foundation for them to build off of. So he's trying to tell his sons like, yeah, like, look, even I can be scared. And it's like the lessons, like bravery is not the absence of fear, is doing what you have to do despite your fear. So he explains to his sons like, I was scared today, and he was like, someone was like, you were? Yeah, I was afraid I was going to lose you. So that kind of drives his bravery to go jump in to go save his son at all costs. And they play around, and because it's not like he's gonna beat his kid or anything like that. It's like is speaking to your kid at like a respectable level where they can understand without having to shout or anything like that. Is like, I gotta drive this home to you in a stern voice, but not a yelly voice. It's like, I was scared. I was scared of losing you, but I need you to understand that you can't just go. Being a leader, being a king, doesn't mean you go out trying to fight the world or prove that you're braver than the next guy. You're always gonna be scared. That's okay, but you gotta be responsible. You're gonna be leader. That means you're gonna take on some responsibilities. And then someone asked like, we always gonna be pals, right? You're always gonna be there, right? And then it's like, that is like something that Mufasa has to like have this kind of talk with his son, because not like gory kind of way, but speaking to him in a way that a child can understand. Is that he looked up this guy, the great kings of the past looking down on us. The sun was set on my time here, and one day I'll become the stars, and then I'll be looking down on you while you're ruling, kind of thing. And I can't help but think it's kind of funny because they make this joke during the Black Panther movie. And it's like, I can't help but think about like if you look just like across from there, I'm pretty sure you got Black Panther speaking with his father right over there. It's kind of funny. It's like God, man, can you imagine like because I think like how it should have ended with Black Panther movie made this joke where it's like as T'Challa speaking with his dad and he finds Mufasa and it's like, oh, you're looking for the Black Panther section. This is way over. It's because it has the movie has parallels to the Lion King. I'm not gonna front about that, but it's a nice lesson to teach a young kid early that yeah, like in a sense, like I will be among the stars, and I will look. Yeah, I will always be here, but not always physically. Uh, but then uh, the next day, or maybe the next couple of days, Scar leads Simba to this gorge and saying like, "Oh, your father has this kind of surprise for you. You stay right here on this little patch of rock, and he'll be back soon for you." And it's all a trap where Scar has the hyenas. Oh crap! I almost forgot about the epic villain song "Be Prepared," and of course, Jimmy Irons didn't sing all of it because he couldn't hit certain high notes. But you got this other singer for Scar, who came in. Yeah, it was actually Jim Cummings who voices Ed, provided the singing parts, certain singing parts of "Be Prepared" uh, uh, for Scar, and you can barely tell the difference. Honestly, that's very good voice acting, and you can't help but notice that all these hyenas doing this goose step kind of thing, and when you get older, you learn about like the Holocaust and everything like that, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of like that's a little awkward, you know. But I guess you gotta hammer home that these hyenas are like really bad guys. Uh, uh, Now they doing this in Mufasa prequel. Now I it shouldn't be live action. If you're gonna do it, make it animated so that way we can get more into the characters, like showing both these, young Mufasa and young Scar growing up and who their father was and how these two brothers had like a rift between the two. That'd be a little bit interesting, but the live action stuff they need to cut it out. I'm not saying it's probably like a bad idea, but it's just the live action portion. After like, I don't care. Like I know it still made money. The live action Lion King still made money, but nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for a lot of these live action remakes of classic Disney animated films that we can just go to see anytime. I don't need to go to the theater to go see something that we can look up on streaming, which has already been tried and true and perfected. So if you're gonna do something like a prequel, make it animated. God, the people outside so loud. Uh, so so you got this awesome song "Be Prepared," still one of the classic Disney songs ever, and the hyena starts uh, messing around with the wildebeest, causing them to get into a stampede. Starts, even though all these animals clearly can talk, don't know why these wildebeest didn't say nothing. Like, get out of the way, kid. Is hyenas chasing us or something like that? They act like actual animals. It's kind of weird when you think about it. But Simba starts running away while these stampeding wildebeest starting to, you know, uh, run down the gorge. And he ain't paying attention to the fact that there's like a young animal in front of him, even though they all supposed to be sentient. But then again, you see bugs later on with uh, Timon and Pumbaa, and clearly they're not sentient, even though they're animals. But I guess you don't need to think too hard in it. Not everything needs to be. I'm just saying, it's like you gotta suspend your disbelief on certain things, and you gotta let certain things slide. So whatever. But Scar runs to Mufasa, and it's like, Simba's in danger. He's at the gorge, and Zazu, Scar, and Mufasa shows up and see like they're charging wildebeest, and then Mufasa runs down there, snatches up his son, and put him on safely on like a ledge area. But as he's trying to make his way up a cliff, Scar, grabs onto him by his paws and says like "Long live the king," and throws him, at the gorge while the wildebeest are still charging, killing him. And this movie is pretty much like a Hamlet story. And like I know I learned Hamlet, at least a few Shakespeare stuff in high school, but they didn't hit as home as like Romeo and Juliet. I don't know why. I think Romeo and Juliet is probably like honestly the best Shakespeare story. And I think maybe it's because like that's been done so many times that is rooted in our subconscious that this is like a solid story and something we all can understand. I really haven't really grasped Hamlet like that. I know some people like Hamlet, but it's like I never really latched on to the story. Anyway, but for some reason, Simba did not see how far up the cliff did you could not see that your uncle tossed your father into the gorge. That's kind of weird, but you get the iconic no. So you actually, and a kudos to the director, they actually want to make sure that you and it's come from what was that second director's name? Rob Minkoff. He made like a statement before about how like they wanted to like acknowledge, hold on to the fact that his father is dead. There's no confusion. You want to make sure you acknowledge it and drive home the point, and sit in the sadness for a little bit, and just and it was sad, the fact that his son's trying to move his father and he's dead. And then Scar comes up and is like, "What have you done, Simba?" It was like accident, and then of course this completely lies to this kid, and tricks him into thinking like it's his fault, and then tells him like, "Run away, Simba! Run away, never return." And as Simba runs, Scar sends the hyenas after him, but Simba gets away, and Scar goes back to the Pride Lands with hyenas, which I don't know why none of the other lionesses tips them off. Like, okay, this seems suspect because why are you bringing outsiders into the Pride Lands behind you? And clearly the fact that you and Mufasa didn't have a decent relationship at all. So it's like, nobody bothered to question it or raise any objections. You're all freaking lions. As a matter of fact, there's plenty of other animals that follow you that isn't hyenas that you can clearly like beat back and raise an objection, because nobody gonna. It's like a lot of or at least definitely more powerful yous out there compared to them. I don't know, but they clearly buy into the fact that, oh, Simba and Mufasa died by wildebeest, and so I'm gonna take the spot as king, and I will rule in there instead. Uh, uh, but then uh, Timon and Pumbaa, we meet them, uh, who find Simba in the desert and nurse him to health at their little swanky oasis, where they teach him about Hakuna Matata. They grow up, Simba grows up into like a young man, and they eating grubs together and kicking it. It's almost like Simba's living out his like college years essentially, where he just like lazing about, kicking with his buddies and everything like that. And then Nala shows up in an attempt to hunt down and kill Pumbaa, but it's stopped by Simba and they reconnect. So she explains to Simba that Scar's been running places and running Pride Rock and is in shambles right now. It's like a, dried out, uh, you know, uh, is a pitiful is in a pitiful state at this point. There's barely any food, hardly any water, which I started to question how they get into that state. Now, I understand maybe food gotten scarce because the hyenas are just like ravenous carnivores and is hunting everything to darn near extinction. But it's like, I know it's a delicate ecosystem, so I can see that happening. And I know, you see the passage of time. So of course, as Simba grows up, let's say it was like a, don't know what the lifespan is of a lion. Is it the same thing as like normal cats in terms of cat years? I'm not sure. Okay, like let me look this up. Okay, like what is like uh, 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 lion years to human years. Okay, lion years to human years conversion. On average, 1 year of a lion's life equals about 8.59 human years. Using the Phi-2 formula, a male lion's lifespan is approximately 12 to 15 human years. Female lion's lifespan is 13 to 16 human years. Lions reach sexual maturity at age 2 to 3 years. So let's say, uh, uh, Simba is like the year 3 of his lion years. So he, by human year standards, you can round it up from 8 to 9. It's like a 27. It'll probably be like, equal to like a 27-year-old male. So yeah, he'll be definitely like a young adult. But he still haven't gotten over his grief and guilt over the death of his father. Despite hearing everything and she saying that he needs to come back and rule as king because it's your rightful place, and it's kind of like a flip of him being so eager to rule now that, after that tragedy, he doesn't want nothing to do with the throne. So he runs off, especially after the Can You Feel the Love Tonight and, Nala giving those iconic sexy eyes. He runs off and he bumps into Rafiki, who shows him a reflection of his father, and his father comes through the clouds without saying like, hey, by the way, Scar killed me. Could have dropped that little nugget, but he never did, but whatever. And he has to remind his son, like, you have forgotten who you are and you've forgotten me. uh, 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 you are my son and the one and true king. And before all that, and by the way, God, the musical score in this is just spectacular. I think it's Hans Zimmer. Uh, yeah, Hans Zimmer doing the musical score is just like phenomenal. It's just like, and it feeds into the narrative that makes it even more emotional half the time. Uh, but it's just that line dialogue as Simba screams out, "You said you was always gonna be there for me," uh, and it's like, and people give Matthew Broderick kind of crap, but his performance as Simba, just like with Ferris Bueller, is top tier in terms of his performance as an actor. Like for those two things in particular, he will always be remembered for, and shows his level of acting chops. Of course, he's always been a great actor, but people always kind of clown on him every once in a while, in good sport. But as his role as Simba and Ferris Bueller is always, to me, it's been like his greatest performance. Underrated, in my opinion, it's Inspector Gadget. That's just me growing up, and I watched certain clips of old Inspector Gadget cartoons here and there. But when in terms of a live action film come out, and it's like, oh, this is fun. I remember collecting the toys from the McDonald's things and the Happy Meals, because I tried to assemble all the Inspector Gadget pieces, but I'll never actually get that whole entire set to actually get the complete to put together the complete action figure of Inspector Gadget. They always kind of bothered me. But sometimes those Happy Meals, we had those dope ass freaking products, they don't do that anymore, or at least like in the same way. Because is that and the Rugrats watches. I never got all the Rugrats watches. I got Tommy, and I think I got Chucky, but I think they couldn't get Phil or Lil or any of the other ones. But I only got Tommy and Chucky, and I never obviously didn't keep them. But man, whenever I see somebody post images of them still having those iconic watches, I just applaud, because or matter of fact, gotta give me one of those, because kudos to you. You are a true blue. You are a true blue nerd, and my hat's off to you, good sir or ma'am. But anyway, Mufasa reminds him the importance of his responsibilities and responsibilities to his people and his land. And Rafiki drives home another lesson that all of us still remember to this day about, where he hits Simba on the head with a stick, and it's like, hey, that hurt. It's like, yes, I know the past can hurt, but you can either run from it or swings it again. Simba ducks, learn from it. And it's like one of those lessons that we all have to learn at some point growing up. It's like, you can't run from your problems. Unless you actually did a crime, then yeah, sure, probably best to run. But all jokes aside, that is just like an incredible lesson that as kids we all learn. It's like, you gotta run from it or learn from it. So Simba runs back to Pride Rock with his friends, and Timon and Pumbaa are really cool friends, because they didn't have to do this, but because they rocked with him so many years, they like, no, like, we're your buddies, we're gonna help you out, get your home back. So they offered nice distractions, so that way Simba and Nala sneak back in and confront Scar, where Scar keeps on telling bold-faced lies about what Simba contributed to the death of Mufasa. And it wasn't, maybe because now that Simba kind of recalls the situation as an adult, he comes to realize that, oh, I didn't really kill my father, because I guess he blocked it out of his mind because it was so traumatic as a kid, but actually, sit with it for a second and actually use some perfect recall, he notices that he wasn't responsible. He was pushed off by his uncle, and he forces Scar to admit the truth, and it causes like a big battle between all the lions and the hyenas. And then when Scar confronts Simba as like lightning strikes at the ground, igniting like these broken branches and everything like that, Simba gives him a chance to like just run away and never return, like he gave him. But Scar, not one to back down, tries to attack Simba. Simba kicks him off the top of Pride Rock where he lands on the ground. And after he just kind of threw the hyenas under the bus a few minutes ago, he sees them creeping up on him, and it's like, oh, my friends. Friends? I thought you said we were the enemy. And so, in a cruel death, it's gruesome, but off screen, but not off screen, but like shadowy off screen. All the hyenas starts mauling Scar to death. And so the movie ends with Simba taking his rightful place as king and having Nala as his queen, and they end up birthing their own child, Prince Kiara, which will come up in a sequel, Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, which is like a directed video sequel. One of the better ones at the time, which I will talk about in a few minutes. But I want to cover all the bullet points that I jotted down really fast, because this is an amazing film. The young singing voice of Simba, Jason Weaver, who was, if you ever watched the old Disney show Smart House, Smart Guy, Smart Guy, he's like the older brother. He had, there's like he was on Vlad TV, or at least not just that, many interviews of him, and because that was one of his earliest acting roles, and he's an incredible singer. And his mom had the forethought, because the people in Disney, try to pay out the son for his contribution to the film, and it was a decent amount of money at the time, but the mom had some forethought, knowing that this is probably gonna be a big deal, because Disney was really cranking out gold mines one after the other, and up until the point of, leading up to the point of The Lion King. And she's like, no, we'll take a little right now, and I want you to pay my son in residual checks. And so that's what the arrangement was. And he, to this day, is still getting crazy amount of money from his contribution from The Lion King. Every time it's playing or whatever, he gets a good portion of money in the mail to this day. All thanks to his mom having the forethought, knowing what a gold mine this movie is going to be. So that is just incredible fact there. Simba learns what it truly means to be a king from Mufasa. It's kind of similar how like it's up to the father to make sure to teach his son how to be a good man when he grows up. Learn about the circle of life. Okay, cover that. Oh yeah, after Simba, starts running Pride Rock, and you see, I guess it was a passage of time, and things starts regrowing. Life finds a way. Blah 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 blah. It's like, but yeah, that takes a lot of time, especially growing back trees and everything like that. It is just like a considerable amount of time, and by the time everything would realistically grow back in full luscious form, Simba probably been long since probably died and passed on, because Can you imagine the length of time for a tree who lost all its leaves to regrow them all back? That takes a lot of time. But we're going to ignore that as a nitpick, but it's just something I noticed. The Timon and Pumbaa, one of the greatest friends in Disney films. You know, the only other person I put above them is that rich white girl in The Princess and the Frog, which I mentioned in my Princess and the Frog review, which you can see on the channel, on my YouTube channel. She's one of the best friends in film or just Disney animated film that I've seen. And Timon and Pumbaa is right up there. Because like I said, they didn't have to come all the way out there to risk their lives to get their friend's kingdom back. But they stuck their neck out for their friend. That's real friends. Simba has an amazing arc. The fact that he had high hopes to be a brave king like his dad, but then paralyzed by fear, or no, paralyzed by guilt over the death of his dad because of Scar, then overcoming that guilt, and then learning to be his own man and not just trying to emulate his father, but doing it his own way. Because we all idolize our fathers, those who have fathers or father figures in our lives. We all idolize them, but we grow up learning that they're not superheroes. They're human just like the rest of us. They make mistakes, but we still hold them in high regard. But we can take the lessons that we got from them, then, make some adjustments according to how we live our lives, and then move accordingly how we would see fit. It kind of reminds me of Miles Morales in the first Spider-Verse film, is that you have to learn that he can't be Peter Parker. You can't do it the way Peter Parker would do it. You got to do it the way Miles Morales will do it. And that's how he overcomes his insecurities and becomes his own Spider-Man. And Scar, finally, Scar as a villain is he's an amazing villain of all time. Just the cunningness is just unprecedented. Just the fact that his machinations and manipulations is just like semi-successful. He still lost in the end. It's kind of like Palpatine, where his machinations is just crazy. The fact that for the longest time he's been winning up until the point where Luke grows up and then destroys the Death Star and reclaim the good in his father again, so that his father can finally complete the task that Qui-Gon Jinn saw in him all those years ago and bring balance to the Force and destroy Sidious. It is like, that length of time is just like crazy how effective he has been. Even though, unlike Palpatine, Scar let the Pride Lands go to rot, essentially, because unlike his brother, who knew what his responsibilities are, because Scar didn't want the responsibilities. He delegated it. He lazed about. He just wanted the title. He wanted the prestige. He didn't want the nitty gritty of the responsibilities. It's kind of like with, like, you remember Bruce Almighty, where Jim Carrey's character gets a portion of God's power and help guide a section of Buffalo and listen to their prayers and everything like that. And God has to bring it up to him, like, well, you kind of took the job. You're going to have to do it, because ain't all sunshine and rainbows here. It's like you actually have to put in the work. And Scar did not want to put in the work that Mufasa did, and that's how Pride Lands was striving for so long under his rule, because he understood the balance. Scar did not, and he didn't respect the balance, and that's where it all came to crap. So there's an impressive arc of his own. Unlike Palpatine, yeah, he was a cruel monster, and he oppressed a lot of people. but there was still some, I hate to say, there was still some level of organization to it where, you know, except from certain spots here and there, there was still, the trains were still running, if you catch my drift, you know? And Scar was like an ineffective ruler. He just wanted the title and the prestige, all in all. But that was The Lion King, 1994's Disney Lion King, the good one. I don't care what anybody says, and I understand like the live action made money, but it pales in comparison to this Disney animated film. And if you have any kids out there and you want to introduce them to The Lion King, only show them the animated one. Never allow them to watch that live action version because that's crap. And you know it's crap. But anyway, that is my review for The Lion King. In a few minutes, I will be covering Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Haven't seen that in so long. It's fun to revisit it. So I'll see you guys in a little bit of my coverage of that. Take care, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.